200 miles from the nearest coastline, 12 people share a space smaller than most suburban homes for 3 months straight. They work 18-hour shifts without weekends, sleep in bed still warm from the previous occupant, and eat meals prepared for an entire crew with mathematical precision that leaves no room for error. Commercial fishing has a fatality rate 30 times higher than the average American job. How do crews survive this floating paradox where industrial machinery operates around the clock in the same cramped quarters they call home? The answer lies in systems that most land-based workers can't imagine. This is the story of how to transform a floating industrial platform into something humans can survive. Life on a commercial fishing vessel feels like two worlds crammed into one. Up on deck, massive hydraulic winches groan against steel cables stretched under tons of pressure, while the crew wrestles nets big enough to swallow jumbo jets. Down below, it's the opposite. Tight bunks jammed so close you can touch both walls just by reaching out. Most boats run about 100 to 200 feet long, but once you carve out space for the engine room, fish holds, galley, and workstations, what's left for 8 to 15 people is about the size of a 2-bedroom apartment. Every inch has to pull double duty, all day and all night. The deck never stays the same. When the gear goes out, it's a battlefield of steel and machinery. During the haulback, every move has to be perfect. One wrong step and a cable can snap you up, and when the net spills its catch, the deck turns into a fish factory, crews knee-deep in slime and scales, knives flashing for hours. Below, the galley is everything at once. Kitchen, dining room, meeting space, even the crew's social refuge. Hallways double as storage and escape routes. The bunks, they're beds, closets, and the only shred of personal space a fisherman gets. Nothing is built for comfort or privacy. The engine room eats up nearly a quarter of the boat, pounding away non-stop with diesel engines, pumps, and refrigeration units. That constant thrum and vibration is the vessel's heartbeat, powering everything. Lights, heat, hydraulics, and the refrigeration that keeps hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of fish from spoiling. It never stops, even when the crew tries to sleep. And then there's the weather. Rough seas turn every task into a balancing act. You brace yourself in your bunk to avoid being tossed out. Hot coffee becomes a burn risk. Even walking down a hallway means grabbing handholds every few steps. The isolation is absolute. No one can leave, call in sick, or escape personality conflicts. If two crew members develop a dispute, they must continue working together in spaces where they're never more than 50 feet apart. The nearest help could be days away, assuming radio contact remains possible through weather conditions. On a fishing vessel, there's no room for confusion. Everything runs on a strict 5-tier hierarchy, and every role is tied to both survival and the success of the trip. At the top is the captain, the one with absolute authority. They chart the course, read the weather, and decide when it's safe to fish or when it's time to pull back. Beyond safety, they're also juggling numbers, fuel, crew shares, and whether the trip's worth pushing further or heading home. Next comes the deck boss, the captain's right hand on deck. They make sure orders turn into action, watching every move during gear deployment and retrieval. Their job is to spot hazards before they become accidents and to keep the crew working safely and in sync. Then there's the engineer, the one who keeps the boat alive. They're responsible for propulsion, hydraulics, refrigeration, everything mechanical. And when something breaks miles offshore, it's up to them to fix it with whatever tools and spare parts are on board. Deckhands are the muscle. They're the ones hauling in the heavy gear, sorting and processing fish, keeping the deck clean, and maintaining equipment. It's exhausting, dangerous work where one mistake can mean serious injury. The cook may not touch the gear, but they play a huge role in keeping everyone going. They stock enough food to last weeks at sea, cook several meals a day, and run the galley, the only real social space on board. A good cook keeps morale steady. A bad one can sour the entire trip. Together, this hierarchy builds a system of backup. If the captain's down, the deck boss can take over navigation. If the machinery fails, the engineer steps in. Everyone knows their role and how to support the rest when things go wrong. And holding it all together is the share system. Instead of fixed wages, the crew splits the net profit after expenses like fuel and supplies. The captain and owner take the biggest cut, followed by the engineer and deck boss, with deckhands getting smaller but still meaningful shares. The point is, everyone's paycheck depends on everyone else doing their part. Fatigue is the greatest threat to crew safety on commercial fishing vessels. Sleep deprivation dulls reflexes, impairs judgment, and raises the risk of fatal mistakes. Standard schedules erase normal sleep patterns. Most crews work 12 hours on, 12 off, 7 days a week. At peak periods, shifts stretch to 16 or even 18 hours, with no weekends or holidays. Even during designated off hours, crew members remain on call for emergencies, equipment malfunctions, or sudden changes in fishing plans. A hydraulic system failure, severe weather, or the discovery of a productive fishing ground can summon all hands to the deck within minutes. Sleep becomes a commodity that crews bank whenever possible rather than a guaranteed right. The physical environment makes quality sleep nearly impossible to achieve. The main diesel engine creates a constant low-frequency vibration that penetrates every part of the vessel. Hydraulic winches scream during gear operations. On-duty crews shout instructions over machinery noise. Ventilation systems add layers of mechanical sound that never cease. Sleeping quarters maximize space efficiency at the expense of comfort or privacy. Crew members share small cabins containing 2 to 4 bunks stacked vertically with minimal clearance between levels. Most bunks measure roughly 6 feet by 2.5 feet, adequate length but barely wider than the occupant's shoulders. Hot bunking is the ultimate space saver. 2 crew members on opposite shifts share the same bed. One climbs in as the other climbs out, the mattress still warm. With no room for personal items, everything has to be portable. It's a stark reminder that on these boats, even sleep is a shared resource. Rough seas make it worse. Violent rolling can throw crew from their bunks, forcing them to wedge against bulkheads or strap themselves in. Constant motion breaks natural sleep cycles and prevents real recovery. Veteran crews adapt. They train themselves to fall asleep fast, nap in short bursts, and spot dangerous fatigue in each other before accidents happen. Even a 20-minute nap during towing can help, but the sleep debt never goes away. Crews work in a state of managed exhaustion that would be unthinkable on land. It keeps the industry among the most dangerous jobs in the world. Food on a fishing vessel is more than fuel. It powers brutal labor, anchors crew morale, and provides the one ritual everyone looks forward to. The cook faces provisioning challenges that require mathematical precision. Before departure, they must calculate exact quantities of food needed to feed the entire crew for the trip's duration, potentially weeks or months, with no possibility of resupply. The calculations must account for the crew size, individual appetites increased by physical labor and cold weather, and the caloric requirements of workers burning thousands of calories per 12-hour shift. Meal planning runs on storage and preservation. Initially, crews consume fresh produce and perishables for variety. After a week or two, the menu shifts to include frozen meats, canned goods, and staples such as rice, flour, and potatoes. The cook has to time it right, using fresh foods early while keeping everyone fed for the long haul. The galley operates as the vessel's social hub and the crew's only refuge from deck operations. It represents the sole consistently warm, dry space where crew members can escape the noise and chaos of industrial fishing. Despite its functional design, the galley carries immense social significance as the place where crews gather, decompress, and maintain human connections essential for psychological survival. Meals are timed to the schedule: breakfast for the night shift, lunch for the day crew, dinner to launch evening operations, and a late-night meal to push through the long haul. The menu prioritizes calorie density over dietary variety or health considerations. Crews require hearty, comforting foods that provide sustained energy for physical labor in cold conditions. Typical meals include thick stews, pasta bakes, roasts, fried chicken, fresh baked bread, and substantial breakfasts with bacon and eggs. This represents performance fuel rather than health food, designed to maximize energy delivery rather than nutritional balance. Mealtime is the crew's only structured pause. For half an hour, they sit, eat hot food, and talk without shouting over engines. The rules are simple: eat fast, clean up, make room for the next person. The cook's role extends to morale management and conflict resolution. A skilled cook who consistently provides reliable, tasty meals becomes central to crew satisfaction and performance. Poor food quality or unreliable meal service can dramatically impact crew attitude and create tensions that affect operational safety. Storage and preservation are constant concerns. Refrigeration keeps both food and valuable catches from spoiling, but it burns fuel that competes with propulsion. Every decision, fishing strategy, energy use, meal planning, connects back to food. Life on a trawler runs on a 4-part cycle, and it controls everything. When you eat, when you rest, even when you can steal a quick chat. It's a rhythm of calm stretches followed by flat-out chaos. First comes setting the gear. The crew drops nets so massive they could swallow an airplane, held open by steel doors that weigh a few tons each. These doors plunge into the sea on cables wound tight around winches. If anything snags, the strain can turn deadly in an instant. Then comes towing, the only real breather. For a few hours, the boat drags the net along the bottom, and deckhands grab coffee, fix gear, clean up, or just take a moment to breathe. It's as close to downtime as they get. Next is the haulback, and that's when things get loud and dangerous. Winches scream as they pull thousands of pounds of gear and fish against the ocean. Steel cables stretch under insane tension. Snap one and it'll cut a person in half. Crews work in tight, wet chaos, moving like a choreographed dance to get the gear safely back on deck. The money shot represents the culmination of hours of coordinated effort. The final section of the net, engorged with fish, is hoisted by crane over the deck. The deck boss pulls a release rope, and the bottom of the net opens to dump the catch, sometimes 50 tons or more, directly onto the deck in a torrent of fish, seawater, and debris. This moment validates the trip's economic purpose and determines whether the cycle's effort produced valuable catch or disappointing results. Processing transforms the deck into a factory floor where crews must immediately begin the work that converts raw catch into valuable product. Standing knee-deep in slippery piles of fish, crews sort valuable species from bycatch in rapidly deteriorating conditions. Fish must be processed quickly to maintain quality and prevent spoilage that reduces market value. Once the catch hits the deck, the real grind begins. For hours, the crew runs an assembly line, gutting, cleaning, and sending fish straight to the freezers. Within just a few hours, they're rock-solid blocks of ice, locked into the cold chain that keeps their market value. The work is repetitive, exhausting, and doesn't stop for tired bodies or bad weather. The cycle immediately restarts once processing is complete. Crews clean the deck, prepare equipment for the next deployment, and begin the sequence again. No scheduled breaks interrupt this pattern except for severe weather that makes operations too dangerous to continue. Heavy seas slow everything down, poor fishing forces repeat cycles, and malfunctions grind operations to a halt. Through it all, crews adapt on the fly, keeping coordination tight to stay safe. The financial setup on a fishing vessel ties everyone's fate together. The share system means one person's performance affects the whole crew's paycheck, turning individual effort into collective survival. Instead of fixed wages, crews are paid a percentage of the trip's net profit. Fish sales set the revenue, but expenses, fuel, food, bait, ice, maintenance come off the top before anyone gets paid. Shared distribution mirrors hierarchy and responsibility. The captain and vessel owner usually take the largest cuts, about 20 to 30% each. The engineer and deck boss earn solid shares for their skills and leadership, while deckhands receive smaller but meaningful portions tied to experience and performance. The system pushes crews to give everything. A good trip with big catches and low costs can pay for months of shore work, but a bad trip, poor haul, high expenses, or breakdowns might leave everyone with almost nothing after weeks of brutal labor. The share system amplifies both cooperation and pressure within crew relationships. Every crew member has a direct financial interest in their colleagues' performance, creating natural peer pressure for maximum effort and attention to safety. Lazy or careless crew members directly reduce everyone's earnings, leading to informal but powerful correction mechanisms. Strong performers who contribute to trip success benefit everyone and earn crew respect that extends beyond mere professional courtesy. Equipment care becomes a shared responsibility. Neglected problems that turn into major repairs/profits. So crews report issues immediately, and the engineer's skills benefit everyone. Safety decisions carry significant economic weight, reinforcing risk management protocols. Injuries that require medical evacuations or port returns can terminate profitable trips and eliminate weeks of potential earnings. Crews develop a strong collective investment in preventing accidents and maintaining safe operations. The shared financial stakes create natural oversight systems where crew members monitor each other's adherence to safety procedures. Bad weather decisions involve economic calculations that affect everyone's income. Continuing operations in marginal conditions might produce valuable catches, but risk equipment damage or crew injuries that could end the trip. Returning to port early preserves safety but reduces earning potential. These decisions require balance individual and collective risk tolerance against economic opportunity. Unlike wage jobs, this system makes crews more like business partners than employees. Their shared financial stake drives loyalty, accountability, and the tight bonds that define successful operations. Even trip length becomes a collective calculation. Extend to fill the hold for maximum profit, or head home early to manage fatigue, safety, and family time. Life on a commercial fishing vessel pushes people to their limits, physically and mentally, while forcing them to build the bonds needed to survive. Crews must learn to spot and manage breaking points before they endanger everyone. Isolation weighs heavily. Trips last weeks or months, far from families and friends. Satellite calls are costly and rare, usually reserved for emergencies. Internet, when it exists, often belongs only to the captain. That distance from normal life builds pressure over time. Confinement intensifies every personality conflict and small irritation. On board, there is little chance to step away from disagreements or find private space to decompress. Eating habits, hygiene, or sleeping patterns that would be minor on land can become sources of tension when experienced daily in tight quarters. Left unchecked, such frictions can escalate into conflicts that affect operational safety. Constant danger adds to the strain. Every task carries the risk of injury or death. Crews adapt, but the desensitization needed to cope comes with emotional costs that pile up trip after trip. Successful crews rely on informal monitoring to spot signs that someone is nearing their limits. Seasoned members recognize indicators of fatigue, excessive risk-taking, or emotional distress in their colleagues. Early interventions through conversation, task adjustments, or informal support help prevent personal problems from becoming safety threats for the whole crew. The galley frequently serves as neutral ground where conversations can occur during meals when work pressure temporarily subsides. Jokes, stories, and fatalistic observations provide emotional outlets that diffuse pressure. While this humor may seem grim to outsiders, it serves as an important coping mechanism for people facing genuine life-threatening conditions. Crew rituals and traditions offer stability amid uncertainty. Special meals after good catches, informal birthday celebrations, or storytelling in calm weather create moments of normalcy. These rituals act as temporary family structures that replace the social connections left on shore. The bonds formed under such adversity often go beyond ordinary friendships or workplace ties. Crew members trust one another with their lives, fostering relationships based on mutual dependence rather than compatibility. These connections can endure for decades and influence choices about future employment and personal life. Breaking points show themselves through risk-taking, withdrawal, constant complaints, or changes in work performance. In the end, the temporary family forged on board is more than comfort. It's survival. Shared meals, conversations, and mutual reliance provide the emotional foundation to withstand isolation and danger. The commercial fishing crew represents one of humanity's most sophisticated adaptations to an environment that seems designed to defeat human survival. They have solved the fundamental problem of how to maintain industrial productivity while preserving the social bonds and individual health necessary for collective success in conditions that would quickly destroy most groups. Their solutions reveal principles that extend beyond fishing: the integration of rigid hierarchy with informal support systems, the transformation of economic incentives into genuine interdependence, the careful balance between individual needs and collective survival, the recognition that technical skills mean nothing without the human systems that make their application possible. These crews succeed because they understand something that many organizations never learn: that survival under extreme conditions requires treating human needs not as obstacles to productivity, but as essential components of any system that expects to function when everything depends on everyone performing perfectly, every time, for months at a time. The next time you see commercial fishing boats returning to port, remember that their crews have just completed something remarkable. They have sustained a floating civilization in one of Earth's most hostile environments and brought it home intact.